everybody. David Chatham here with Angel Oak Creative. Welcome to the latest episode of our Nonprofit State of Minds podcast. We're continuing our successful string of amazing guests, if I do say so myself. Grateful for all the guests that we've had. And today we've got an author, we have a consultant. We have a former NASCAR racing professional, not a driver, but NASCAR racing professional, and it's all one person. It's Hardy Smith. So, Hardy, welcome.
David, thank you so very much. And I'm looking forward to visiting with you and everyone in your audience on the Nonprofit State of Mind podcast. This will be fun.
Well, I hope so. I hope it's not painful. That we try to avoid that. So, well, thank you for being here. You know, we connected like a lot of our folks do on LinkedIn. We kind of found out that we had some mutual folks in common, and also had some similar insights and viewpoints, and maybe some we don't always agree on either. But look forward to kind of exploring that. Tell us a little bit about how you got to going through the NASCAR world and now becoming an internationally acclaimed author and speaker and all of those things.
Well, David, thank you so very much. Now, how much time do we have this afternoon?
Sure,
Oh,
we're shooting for about 30 or 40 minutes. Yeah.
not that time to give the full sort of condensed version of it all of the Hardy journey. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Give us the
Um,
Reader's Digest version for those who might remember Reader's Digest.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am a native of Talladega, Alabama, home of the big track, Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby, all of it, and had the opportunity after coming home from college back to Talladega, wound up working at the Speedway. And that was just a great opportunity. And after a few years being at the Speedway, had the opportunity to move up to the big leagues, the corporate operation for NASCAR and International Speedway Corporation in Daytona Beach. And I was in the world of NASCAR racing for about 30 years,
Wow.
and just great experiences there. And I was working across the country, and working with uh, community organizations, chambers of commerce, different associations, nonprofits, um, is working within the scope of my particular um, realm. So it was a lot of fun, and I knew one day I would have an opportunity to take all those many very special and unique experiences, and apply those for a situation of my own.
Yeah.
And so when I had an opportunity to create my own consulting business and professional speaking business, I set out to do that. The nonprofit world, the world of doing good, community service is all in my family's DNA. So that was a natural gravitation for me to go from NASCAR is very much a for-profit world,
Yeah.
but to be able to go from that world to the nonprofit world, and then all the skills and experiences and the learned behavior, conditioned behavior, all of that has translated very well in my work to work with nonprofits.
Well, talk a little bit about just what that your time in the nonprofit sector. What does that look like? What areas have you focused on, and what are the things that you've seen that you found important and worthy of focusing on?
David, my chosen lane to travel down is that of board engagement, board performance.
Yeah.
And I've just been on a quest for a number of years to answer the question, why don't board members do what they're supposed to do?
Yeah.
And that, from what I hear as I travel across the country, that is definitely a number one pain point that keeps nonprofit professionals up at night.
Yeah.
So I've been on a quest to find answers why they don't do what they're supposed to do, and then provide the solutions to help make the pain go away, if you will.
Yeah, which is real quick. We'll mention your book. Stop. I think it's "Stop Blaming the Board." Is that right?
Stop the nonprofit board blame game.
Yes. So we'll get into that a little more deeply, but I think some people would argue that it's all the board's fault. So we'll so we'll dig a little deeper into that. What what is the challenge? Why are boards, why, and again, not blaming the board, but why are issues around boards seem to be so difficult? Why are they such a universal issue among nonprofits?
Well, from my research, which is all based on asking the opinions for answers on that question from board members.
Yeah,
That's where my focus has been on. Okay,
sure.
there's plenty of advice that tells our nonprofit leaders what they ought to be doing, and it kind of comes from the standpoint of the nonprofit professional. And okay, that's one approach. And my approach, I believe, is a little bit different, or has proven to be different. And that's what I wanted to do. And the research ultimately did translate into the book, which is being very well received. And I'm appreciative of that. But David, it's to share the board member perspective.
Yeah,
So I asked the question, why don't you do what you're supposed to do? What is it that once good board members are experiencing that's turning them off?
yeah,
And they shared that with me. And then when the responses from my research work started coming in, it's clear that there are two different opinions on all of this.
sure.
As you suggested. Um, so and I think a lot of the problems come from assumptions, assuming
Yeah,
what a board member is supposed to do or not do.
yeah,
And it's having that assumption and never having the conversation to get clarity on expectations, if you will, with the board member. And let me add to this, David, having the conversation to communicate expectations and then stop talking and make sure you're getting listen for acceptance,
yeah,
because me telling you what it is you're going to do and you not responding back, yes, you agree you will do that. Have you agreed to do anything?
right.
So that's where a huge problem comes from. And so the expectation, and not taking time, David, to listen to what the board members' expectations are
Yeah,
for serving on your particular board. And what happens then, David, if there's just not agreement?
yeah,
Um, do you continue to push to get that person on your board? Or do you say, thank you very much for your interest. And it's probably best for both of us that we just have our different opinions and just move on.
yeah.
So that's one of the challenges that I see, or the situations that I see that exist in way too many nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, I mean it it almost, I mean, going back to your NASCAR roots, right? It's like the pit crew and the driver not talking to each other, right?
Totally.
I mean, you can't,
Totally.
how, if you, and again, I'm not a NASCAR expert like you are, but my guess is that if the driver can't communicate what's going on with the car and all those things, right? That the pit crew isn't going to be able to respond and help solve those problems. And if the pit crew isn't communicating what the driver needs to do to perform better or do whatever, then they're not going to reach their highest, expectations either. So, um,
You've nailed it. You
so,
nailed it.
uh, we'll talk about that a little bit. What what do board members, what in your research, what were the things that they felt like weren't communicated clearly, or that were, maybe confusing them, or not equipping them for success?
The key is not having clarity again on what's expected.
Yeah.
And here's the situation that sets that up, and it's very the results are very predictive. So, and here's why the situation exists. Um, one of the first things I suggest to organizations is to start at the beginning. Recruit board members with purpose and
Mm,
process.
yeah.
And by that,
And
I
it shouldn't
mean
just be about how much money they can donate.
being in, and I'll touch on that. Thank you. Being intentional about it.
Yeah.
And what happens is I know every nonprofit professional that are listening in to the podcast today, and thank you all for being here. There's going to be a whole lot of them that are saying, Hardy, we're pretty busy people, and we've just, just don't give us anything else to do.
Right.
Well, okay, how bad do you want a board that's really being positive, productive, and fully engaged? And when it takes
Right.
a little work, it takes a little effort on the front end. And the situation we have is, let's just say, December is the annual meeting, and that's when new board members are going to come on. And well, you know that 12 months in advance. So let's just say David and Hardy's terms on the board are going to expire. Thank you to both very outstanding board members for participating. But we know in advance when their terms are going to expire, right? Well, um, so would it make sense if before whenever the nominations committee is going to report out and you have elections, new seats to the board, new individuals to the board, say maybe that happens in October and before the annual meeting in December. Well, so okay, you just had the annual meeting in December, so now January. Well, January is the first of the year, and
Yeah.
everybody's still trying to catch up, right? Annual reports, and it's
Yeah.
all that the budget has to be fixed, and it's just busy. And then, well, there's February, and that's Valentine's. Well, February is a short month anyway. You don't have much time there. In March, well, March is spring break, and everybody takes, school holidays and time out of school, and you're just kind of enjoying the spring and spring vacation time. And then, April, May, and that's, well, you're getting ready for summer. And then June, July, and August, well, that is summer. And
Yeah.
now you're having family vacation time. It's just hard to get time to get people together. We can't get the board together. It's just rough. And well, then all of a sudden September, and you know what September is? September is the start of college football season. And so, no one has time to think about board members in September.
Yeah.
October's Halloween, and guess what November is? That's when you're going to have elections for the new seats that are going to be filled in December at the annual meeting.
And you're
So there
also
hasn't been
focused on
any work at
fundraising.
all. So you get to that October meeting, and wow, does anybody know anybody who could step in and take the place of Hardy and Dave? They're going to be hard shoes to fill there, but surely somebody knows somebody. And oh well, I know somebody. Let's see, maybe she showed up. She was a volunteer at the last walkathon we had. So she's probably would be a great board member. Now, no
Yeah.
one knows who she is, and they've seen her once. And so, would that qualify her as a board member?
Yeah.
Well, all too often, all we're trying to do in the sector, regrettably, is we're grabbing the just we're trying to grab somebody to fill a seat
Yeah.
without regard to the specifications, the qualifications. What is it that your unique organization needs? Like the what and then the who, but what experience, what talents, all those things that you need your next two board members to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And having conversations in advance. Here are the expectations. Are we in alignment on the expectations? Are you good with that? Can you meet this obligation? The obligation might be raising money, might be writing a big check, but we don't do all of this. And we do, in too many cases, what I call settle for slot fillers.
Yeah.
And then,
Well, let's talk
we,
about
yeah,
going back to the racing analogy. Who's in the driver's seat on that, right? Who should be driving the car when it comes to being purposeful about that next board member seat? Is it the board chair? Is it the executive director? Is it some committee? Who should own that? Because if everybody
great,
owns it, nobody owns it, right?
great question. And I would suggest all of the above. And should be a collaborative effort. The board, the CEO or the executive director probably knows best because think about this. Um, when David and Hardy came onto the board in 2020, um, we were dealing with a pandemic, we're dealing with all kind of challenges. Well, so okay, so now it's 2025, the year next term will be in 2026. So, but there could be entirely different circumstances, highly likely to
Yeah,
be different circumstances. So, you still need good people, but the talents and skills and expertise, doesn't it make sense it could be entirely different?
yeah,
And who knows better than the nonprofit professional?
yeah,
Now, as far as reaching out and coordinating with the board chair, other board members, certainly have them involved.
yeah,
And because if you can recruit from in I like sports, and I'm a believer that in good recruiting, effective recruiting, you've got a nice whiteboard of prospects
right.
and always looking at prospects
Yeah,
and looking into the future and you're ready. So you go to your list of potential prospects. You might be looking at committee chairs. If you use your committees and volunteer roles intentionally,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense. You're going to create a farm club for future board members and
right.
leaders. So to answer your question again, it's everyone, all the leadership working together.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of nonprofits are missing the opportunity. They don't have that D league, right? They don't have that development league
Right.
of committees. And part of it, I'm guessing, is because they feel like it's a lot of work or extra work to manage those. And it's when you've got 20 or 30 additional people on committees or subcommittees that there's some extra responsibility there. And, it just is one of those things that it gets lost in the priorities, right? I would guess that that's the
Well,
case.
and when you think about it, let me just try to share a little tough love. How off base is it that replacing board member succession planning could be misplaced
Mm,
or
yeah,
forgotten
yeah,
or it's not a priority? I'm just going to say that just is not good leadership right there. I'm just
yeah,
giving you the tough love. That's not good leadership. We
yeah,
got to do better.
yeah. Now, is this, and I guess getting a little geeky or technical here, should all of this be written in the bylaws about how you handle board recruitment, or is that making it more difficult than it needs to be, or is that a good practice?
My suggestion would be that's not an item for the bylaws,
Okay,
but it could certainly be an item for operational policy.
gotcha. That makes sense. Um, what questions, we probably have board members listening to this as well. What questions should board members ask of leadership, of other board members, of chair, of executive director when they're considering an invitation?
Oh my goodness gracious. I'm going to give you like a virtual high five for that question because, how often you would like, I tend to try to be a positive thinker. I probably tend to be a little utopic, maybe too utopic in my thought process,
I'm with
but
you.
you certainly
Rainbows and unicorns. That's all
yeah,
that it
that's right. You certainly want to hope that's happening, but the questions, I've got a feeling that doesn't happen often enough. Well,
is.
my experience is it doesn't happen often enough. So the questions that should be asking, um, how much time does it take? Is there a financial commitment? How many meetings are there? Do I have to serve on a committee? Do I
Yeah.
have to give any money? Who else is on the board? Or what are the challenges
Mm,
of the organization that I need to be aware of? Are there any financial issues
yeah.
I should be aware of? Are there any pending issues that aren't yet public but are likely to be made public
Sure.
over the course of the next few weeks or few
Yeah.
months? And all of that is just doing your individual good due diligence homework.
And ultimately, I would expect that you would want your chair, your executive director, others to respond to those positively, right? I mean, not to feel threatened by them or to feel
Sure.
like you're being interrogated, but more so that you actually have a wise prospect here who's asking the right questions, right?
Absolutely. And that you hopefully, well, number one, answer truthfully is what
Right.
you want. But having a board, wouldn't it make sense if a board member is being that interested and willing to do that level of homework, not just say, sure, I'll be on this board and I'll be on this board like I'm on the other five boards I'm already on.
Yeah.
They're putting some effort into it, right?
Yep.
And wouldn't it make sense that that same type effort is going to translate into their service on the board if you both agree.
Yeah. Well, I know your book is about stopping the blame game, the board blame game. But I mean, can't we say that that sometimes boards are the problem? I mean, is there some
Certainly,
truth in
certainly,
that trope?
certainly. There are times when there are board members who cross the line of responsibility. Now, let's just kind of walk this back to the beginning.
Yeah,
How does that situation manifest itself? How is that allowed to happen? Was that board member given the benefit of a proper orientation
right.
as to roles and responsibilities of the board for this particular organization? There's
Yeah,
over 1.5 million nonprofit organizations in this country. I submit all 101.5 million are uniquely different. A lot of
yeah,
commonalities, but just because you've been on one board doesn't mean that's the way we do it over here.
yeah,
So you need the board member. If the board member has not had that orientation, and listen, I don't count. Hey, David, welcome to our board. Here's the notebook, the board notebook. Just read it and let me know if you have any questions. The end.
been there, done that.
How often does it? Well, you just verified they answered the question. How often do you think that happens?
Yeah,
Way too often. So
yeah,
then all of a sudden, and you don't follow, I don't follow up with you to see if
right.
you had any questions. What clarity do you need? Now, all of a sudden, you start crossing the line. You're contacting staff members. You're getting into the weeds of things you shouldn't be doing. Just not this. Not that it's wrong. It's just that's not where you're supposed to be, and
Right.
all this thing, and not your lane. And now all of a sudden, well, whose fault is that? Is
Yeah,
that David's because he's just overeager and
right.
he's just wanting to do good? Um, or is it the fault of leadership both board leadership and staff leadership who never explained to David, nope, nope, this here's where you are, here's how you will be of we want you to be of service, and this is what you do, you board and what we as staff do.
In your
Too
research, were
often
you,
there's a
oh, go ahead.
we create our own problems.
Yeah, it's yeah, we built the monster, right?
Yes.
We did in your research, were you able to determine maybe what percentage of organizations have kind of this healthy board approach, or is that too difficult?
I would say anecdotally, our is just the whole sector on fire, upside down with their board relationships? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Are there some great boards and board relationships with staff? Absolutely, they're models, and I
yeah,
share some examples of those in the book.
yeah,
And yes, they're there. But the conversation and all the chat rooms, all the social media platforms, and all the conferences, all the conventions, all the literature, all the books, you know, great boards doesn't seem to be a dominant topic. The big topic is, man, my board is messed up. Can you
yeah,
help me?
that's funny.
So there is a lot, unfortunately, a lot.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you talk about is treating the board as a high value asset, right?
Yes.
That they're an important part of the organization. They're not a byproduct or a second, kind of a second second thought. What does that mean when you're talking about treating them? What does that look like when you're treating them as a high value asset?
Oh, great question. Thank you. And see if this makes sense. You know, typically, if you're, especially if you're talking about a local organization,
Yeah,
we tend to, we all do we take the easy route. Okay, Dave, we hadn't worn David out yet as our prototype board member. So David, David's on like five other boards, and obviously he's a good board member because he's on five other boards. So obviously we need him on ours. Okay, so now all of a sudden, David is now on six boards. On average, each one of them meets once a month. That's six board meetings a month, not counting if he's on committees, not counting if he's on the executive committee,
yeah,
not counting any special training, not attending special events, uh, just six meetings a month. So all of a sudden, if that's, he leaves from work, goes to the meeting, comes back from work. So that's several hours a day times six times 12.
yeah,
All of a sudden, that is a lot of time.
yeah,
Individuals who are volunteering today and probably in a community local nonprofit, since the prototype, probably if I ask six nonprofits in the audience in a local community, name me all of your board members. Write down all your board members, and then all of a sudden, let's put each of the lists, all 10 lists, up on the board. I'll bet we start crossing off a lot of the same names, and
right.
there probably going to be very few names unique across the board, if this is making sense.
Yeah,
So my point is that David, and somebody's assuming that some of these boards don't meet at exactly the same time in a natural occurring conflict. David is having to make a choice.
yeah,
And because he's on the list that everybody picks from, he's probably a blue chip, five-star prospect that everybody wants, which means what? He's very influential, he's very successful, he's very busy.
yeah,
And when he's making a decision to go to each one of those board meetings, he's thinking, all right, is this meeting going to be worth my time?
Mm,
Am I going to make a difference? Is going to this meeting going to make a difference? Will I have an impact? And
yeah.
if the answer is nope, I don't see any value, me not being there is not going to move that. It's going to, not going to mean anything. Me being there is not going to move the needle. So you've
Yeah.
pretty much lost David for your group as it stands. So treating your board members as a high value asset means number one, making meetings matter.
Mm,
Rethink your approach to how your meetings are structured, not just a bunch of reports from staff that could be done via email or handouts. It's up to them to read them. I know what our friends, I see the heads, well, they don't even read them, Hardy. I hear what you're saying, but that's on them. That's
yeah.
on them. That's another topic on how you can deal with that. But if you make the meetings matter, by allowing time, let's just say in your strategic plan, and hope you have one, you have 6 priority goals in your strategic plan.
Right.
So the math on our monthly meeting, ballpark, every meeting, you could have one of your 6 priority goals up for discussion, up for review. Are we making progress? Do we need to shift? Are there things we need to adjust to, readjust, and focus? So now what you have is real time strategic planning. Because you have 6 and there's 12 monthly meetings, you could cover each goal twice during the course of a year. And then by the time you come back around to your annual planning cycle, again, you've done real time planning. You're
Right.
moving the needle. And so the board members are going to know that meetings are going to be worthwhile attending.
Yeah.
Another quick way to use your board members as a high value asset is use them for their strategic visioning ability.
Yeah.
Give them a problem to solve, not
Mm,
hypothetical, but a real situation the organization is dealing with or is faced with, and get them involved strategically in helping identify solutions
yeah.
that, because of their expertise, because of their involvement, because of their network of connections, they probably are going to have thoughts and ideas that the nonprofit staff is just will not have thought of.
Yeah.
Does this make
That's
sense?
interesting. Usually the biggest problem is how are we going to raise more money, right? So what role does a healthy board play in that side of things? I mean, some people love to get, the wealthy movers and shakers on there because the easy thing is they're going to stroke a check and, pay for a fourth of the budget, right? Or something like that. How do you balance that desire to bring in the money while not making it all about the money?
Ooh, okay. Well, now here
And this might be the last question we get to. So,
we're gonna light the phones up here. Get ready for the fan mail. And let me hopefully do an adequate job of explaining my thoughts on this. This is a real question, so this is really good. This is getting into the meat of a lot of relationships, well, probably every relationship with every board. Um, I don't have a philosophical issue with asking board members to either give or get.
yeah.
I'm okay with that, with this caveat. As long as you've had the money talk, in the book, I talk about having the money talk.
Okay.
So today, David, I'm sharing have the money talk with your board prospect. Prospect means before they're on the board.
Right.
That's part of that getting clarity. So if part of getting or giving is what your organization expects its board members to do, you're going down the wrong path if you're assuming I'm going to do it.
Right.
Um, and so let me explain. If you're asking me in advance, Hardy, we want you to be on this board. Feel you'll be a great board member with all your leadership capabilities. We want, and part of being on our board, we have a fundraising expectation of either giving or getting, and at whatever amount it is. And are you okay with that?
Yeah.
And then stop talking and let me respond. And if I'm not okay, I might not be able to afford it.
Right.
I might have another baby on the way. I might be going back to school. I might know that layoffs are coming. I mean, I've just bought a house. Who I'm paying for college tuitions. Who
Yeah.
knows? But don't assume. You know, money is a very
Yes.
personal subject. Now, if I say, yep, no problem, I'm good, put me down, I'll write you the check right now. Okay, that's okay. If there's any hesitation, don't push me into saying yes if clearly I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And just as a reminder, um, this is where the phones and the emails may light up and the text messages. Fundraising, giving or getting, is not the priority responsibility, roles and responsibilities of a nonprofit board member. The
Uh-oh.
primary responsibility is governance and fiduciary responsibilities. Fiduciary responsibility meaning oversight.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean raising money. And who says that? Who says that? Is it Hardy because he wrote a book? Nope. It's whatever state you're in. Every one of the states in the United States has rules and regulations about nonprofit boards,
Yeah.
and every state is different. And those two basic principles are consistent across the country: governance and fiduciary oversight.
Wow.
Add to that, David, the Internal Revenue Service, say the same thing. It's all in the tax codes. And furthermore, Congress. Congress has passed plenty of laws mandating the behavior of nonprofit boards and board members. So again, if you want to have board members who give and get, just have the money talk first in the
I mean,
beginning.
is one way to address that to have a fundraising committee that is responsible for that, or is that a separate matter?
I would say, sure, have a fundraising committee. It's whatever your organization works for your organization.
Right. But at least
Not
maybe that kind of separates, puts a little bit of a
sure,
separation between church and state, right? I mean,
sure, sure.
maybe there's a,
Every organization is different and whatever works for you.
yeah,
Again, money is a very personal topic.
yeah,
And I got news for you, folks. Not everyone is willing to ask someone else for money.
yeah, yeah.
They just
And I think
that's just a fact.
well, I appreciate that insight of that the the primary function of a board is not fundraising. It is governance and fiduciary oversight. So I think that's a good reminder just to keep it that simple and know that there's still an opportunity there, but it
Certainly,
should not be the
certainly,
primary function of a board. Uh,
certainly.
so as we wrap up here, Hardy, time flies. When we're having fun here. What's one or two things you really want listeners to walk away from this with? What's the two things that they can one or two things that they can take back to their nonprofit?
The number one reason the survey shows, the Hardy survey shows, the number one reason good board members turn off is because of poor communication.
Wow.
That doesn't mean you're not communicating. It doesn't mean you need to do more communication. It means your communication with board members needs to be effective.
Yeah.
Think about this very simply. When I ask an audience, If I'm talking about communications, if it's a class, a session on effective communication, and I ask an audience, uh, David, what's the number one most essential element to a long term successful relationship?
Yeah.
Without fail, it's communication.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if I ask, all right, what's the most essential part of good communication? Without fail, it's listening.
Mm,
So communicate effectively with your board members. Make sure you're listening to your board members. And if you're not sure if you're communicating effectively, well, number one, if they're not taking your phone calls, if they're not responding to your text, if they're not opening your emails, not opening the email newsletter, if they're not
yeah.
coming to meetings, you have kind of a hint. You
Yeah.
have a hint. And
Yeah.
then just ask them.
Yeah.
Ask them. How can you do better?
No, that's great. Yeah, and it seems like the simplest thing, right? But it really is truly the one of the most challenging aspects. And that's, I mean, that's not with boards, but that's why people hire Angel Oak, right? Because communications can be a challenge, and it takes time,
Yes.
it takes intentionality, it takes, a strategic approach. And on a personal level, I think that's the same, right? You invest the time,
Sure.
you invest thought, you invest that listening, which is my, ask my wife, she'll tell you, I'm supposed to be this professional communicator for 30 years now. And, I'm challenged at listening. So that's
I understand.
one of the most difficult, difficult traits that, is, to practice. So, well, Hardy, how can people find out more about you, more about your book, your how to engage you as a speaker?
Thanks for asking, David. My website is very easy, hardysmith.com.
Look at you getting the hardysmith.com URL. When did you buy that?
From the very beginning.
I know. I bought David Chatham and lost it at one point, and then I got it back. So hardysmith.com. I know you're on LinkedIn, so I know
On
people
LinkedIn.
produce.
Welcome connections.
Yeah, you accepted mine, so I'm guessing you'll accept just about anybody. So
Look forward to expanding the network, right?
yeah, and so great. So they can go on there, learn more about your book, maybe buy your book. Is it available
Yes.
on your
Yes.
website? And maybe reach out to you if they want. What kind? Now, tell me real quick about your speaking approach. Who would benefit from having you as a speaker?
um, Organizations who are looking for to have a board retreat. So like
Okay,
small group type sessions, workshops. I do keynotes
okay,
for conferences, conventions, where attendees are wanting to get help with getting the board that they really want. So I welcome those opportunities.
well, good. Well, we'll have to get you up here in North Carolina sometime soon. So.
Sounds good.
Well, good. Well, Hardy, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I encourage you to check out some of our other great podcast episodes. We're midway through season 3, which is hard to believe, but grateful for everybody who keeps listening. And reach out, angeloakcreative.com, if we can be of service. And David at angeloakcreative.com. I'm always available. And on LinkedIn, I'm a LinkedIn nerd. So feel free to reach out to me there. So, Hardy, thank you so much for your time, and we look
Thank
forward
you.
to
Thank you, everyone.
continuing to follow you and get some great advice on how to have more effective boards.
Thank you.